Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Joe Walls. Hello. Thank you for coming. It's a sold-out show. Yeah. The fact that it's free to come in no way devalues that. Still counts. We can put it on the posters next year. Who'd have thought that a show about hating UKIP would do well at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival? Finally found my audience. It's nice to be here. There's like two little bits of admin at the top. Firstly, it does get quite hot in this room. I'm really sorry. I've done everything I can. If you need to fan yourself, if you need to do whatever you need to do to keep cool, that's fine. Don't feel like insecure about doing that. Second thing is, physically we could fit more people in this room, but if we put any more people in this room, then Amnesty International start a letter writing campaign to free the people of T-Bar. So you guys at the back, you're our kind of bouncers. Can one of you lean against the door? There's a sign on the door that says no entry. You'd think people would read that. They don't. A week ago, a woman came in 10 minutes late into the show. We turned away people. And I said to her, I'm really sorry, we're full, and we've turned people away, so it's not fair to let you in, right? And she went, no, I'll stay. Didn't know how to deal with that. It's some kind of Jedi mind trick. I will stay in the show. And I said, no, look, I'm really sorry, you've got to leave, we're full, right? And I was aware of the irony of saying you have to leave, we're full in this show. But you guys are all queued up, and I think we can't really have any more people. And then she really turned really quickly, and she went, "You're not funny anyway!" Right? And I said to her, "Well, you've seen 10 seconds of the show, and those 10 seconds have consisted entirely of me asking you politely to leave, right?" I'm sorry, I didn't do it in a funny way. I'm sorry about that. And then she stormed off downstairs and tried to get a refund for the drink she'd half drunk, and then threatened to call the police. There you go. So I'm a pretty edgy comedian. People call the police on me. I'm like Lenny Bruce. But welcome to the show. It's another political show. I was here 2 years ago. I did a show called Night of the Living Tories. I know, I do good show titles, that's my thing. I didn't come last year, I had an incident that frightened me away. I was flyering for my own show because my career's going well. And I gave a flyer to a woman on the Royal Mile. She looked at the flyer, there's a picture of David Cameron on the flyer, right? She was angry with me that because of me, she'd had to see David Cameron's face. Fair enough, you can't just spring that on people, right? She shouted at me and she went, "That David Cameron! Tell you what they should do to him! They should drag him out in the streets! They should tie him to a lamppost! They should douse him with petrol! Then they should stab him in the face!" It's incredible. Don't know what the petrol was for. She just wanted to mislead him a bit before she stabbed him in the face. And that, Edinburgh, is the story of the day that I met Nicola Sturgeon. So, another show about politics. It's been hard writing political comedy recently. You spend a whole day writing some really good jokes and then the fuckers resign. Literally, I've got pages and pages on Andrea Leadsom that's really funny, but it's fucking worthless now. And it's the first one to go is Ken Livingstone. Do you remember Ken Livingstone? Yeah. He didn't exactly resign, but do you think he should have gone, Ken? No. You're the fourth audience that no. People don't say yes. I think he should have gone, right, but not for the reasons that were given. I have my own personal issues with Ken Livingstone. I did a benefit with him once, right, for a homeless charity. He was speaking about the cause. I was doing comedy. I went on first, did my comedy. It was very, very good, and he went on after me and he made a kind of snide remark that I swore too much. He went, "Oh, these modern comedians, they swear a lot. I don't like it when modern comedians swear a lot," right? So I'm fucking glad he's been thrown out of the Labour Party. Fuck you, Ken Livingstone. I say fuck a lot, but I don't hate the Jews. So, swings and roundabouts, isn't it, Ken? We've both got our flaws. No, I don't even believe that. I don't think Ken Livingstone's anti-Semitic. I think he's just an idiot. I think David Cameron is anti-Semitic. I think he's the most anti-Semitic politician this country's ever had. Yeah? Because if Jewish people think that eating a pig is unkosher, what he did is up there with Holocaust denial, isn't it? It's awful. So we've had two big elections in England since my last show, with the general election, which I felt was the most depressing election that I've ever lived through. I know I'm quite young, but it just felt like there was no choice, right? You could vote for Ed Miliband, for the Labour Party under Ed Miliband, who were just all over the fucking place, completely incompetent, going back and forward on policies. You never really knew what they stood for. Or you could vote for the Conservative Party, who were competent and intelligent and efficient, but genuinely satanic. Those are your options. That's democracy. You can have morons or cunts. That's the choice. I got to pick one. I picked the Labour Party, and then I voted Labour. And I'm aware that I pull a face when I tell people that. It's my Labour face. It's kind of... It's the same face that I start to pull when I'm telling homeless people that I can't give them any money. It's kind of... I think this is the right thing to do. Because my heart says you should give votes to the Green Party. But I worry that if you give votes to the Green Party, that they'll spend it on drugs. I don't want to condone that. Yeah. And then the general election happened. Did you stay up for the election? Yeah. I don't. Wrong answer. Don't stay up. Go to bed. 9:30. 9:30 is when I go to bed election day. I like to wake up in the morning and find out what the election's brought us. It's like Christmas for children whose parents hate them. What Santa brought us? More austerity. And then we had the EU referendum, which was just more upsetting and depressing. I didn't think I'd be that upset about it, but I'm really angry. I think, because I'm 27, right? So my generation, we didn't want Brexit. It's not what we wanted. Disproportionately, we voted to stay, but then older generations, so it kind of even out. We've got to leave the EU now. A lot of young people feel very angry about that. I'm a young person. I felt angry about that. But you know what? If you're a young person and you voted to stay and you're not happy with the result, that's democracy. You've got to accept what's happened. You've got to calmly accept what's happened and calmly and rationally kill your grandparents. Only way forward. They're physically weaker than us, so it'll be easy to do. Right? And yes, Scottish people, I'm aware that it takes a special kind of arrogance for an Englishman to be coming up to Scotland and making broad generalisation about which group caused Brexit. But, I'm sorry, Scottish people. I'm sorry for what my people did. But it's different. It's different, the generation thing and the English thing, because older people were really patronising towards young people during the EU referendum, and English people, we're never patronising. We're not, are we? Sometimes Scottish people think that we're patronising, but they don't understand very sophisticated sense of humour. So old people are so patronising, aren't they, the EU referendum? They're like, you young people don't understand. You don't understand the EU because you don't remember. You don't remember what it was like before the EU. You don't remember. And I think, fuck you old people. You don't remember how to work Sky Plus. So, pardon me if I don't have that much faith in your ability to remember things. And then all sorts of awful things have happened. Just this whole year. The whole year's been awful and horrible. Boris Johnson's foreign secretary, I don't know how that happened. Boris Johnson is the man who calls black people pickaninnies, right? He's foreign secretary. I think calling black people pickaninnies is the worst kind of racism. It's racism that you have to fucking Google to work out how racist it is. What's a pickaninny? And UKIP have won this year. They got what they wanted. Donald Trump said that he was the man who made Brexit. And he is. He's the one who put it on the agenda. He's made it happen. I hate UKIP, obviously. The show's called 10 Things I Hate About UKIP. It's obviously an abridged list, but I'll go through them for you now. The first thing I hate about UKIP is that they want an Australian-style immigration system. I don't want an Australian-style immigration system. What I understand an Australian-style immigration system to be from history is an immigration system where literally thousands of criminals... They all get put onto a boat, and then that boat's pushed over the other side of the planet, and the criminals come into a country, and they murder vast swathes of the indigenous population. Sounds like a terrible immigration system. How's ever become UKIP policy? The second thing I hate about UKIP is that they want to ban the burqa. I don't want to ban the burqa. I think women should be allowed to wear whatever they want. I know that makes me some kind of terrorist, but I think it's fair enough. You should. That's just like freedom, isn't it? For the weirdest reasons as well. Nigel Farage was on Question Time before Christmas. There was a question about the burqa. It was basically, should women be allowed to wear the burqa? And this is his argument against the burqa. He went, well, how come a Muslim can go into a bank wearing a burqa, but I can't go into a bank wearing my motorcycle helmet? Yeah, you can. You can. You just have to wear a burqa over your motorcycle helmet. It's the loophole. If it's really that important to you that you're allowed to wear your motorcycle crash helmet into the bank, you're definitely allowed to do that. I've tried it. Legally, they can't ask you to leave. You will get weird looks from the staff. They'll look at you as though to go, yeah, that Muslim woman's got a massive round head. But they won't say anything in case people think that they're racist, because people think UKIP are racist. I don't actually think they are. I think they're just very passionate about the rights of white people who like to wear motorcycle crash helmets in public. Really, they're the last of the oppressed minorities. They've no political representation, no MPs, no voice in culture. You never see one on the TV, apart from Daft Punk and The Stig. There was that woman from those Zavirax adverts about 5 years ago. Do you remember those? Yeah. Apart from that, they got nothing. Yeah. That's the kind of thing that bigoted people will do, is they find out a little nuanced way in which you're better off being a minority, and they make a big fucking song and dance of it, you know? Like, oh, look, the Muslims get to wear their burqas, but I can't wear my helmet. It's awful not being a Muslim. I'm oppressed. Oh, look, disabled people can go shopping in their wheelchairs, but I can't drive a quad bike through Primark. Awful for me. I wish I was disabled. Oh, look, rappers, black rappers, they're allowed to use the N-word in their rapping, but I'm not allowed to spray paint it on my neighbour's front door. It's awful for me. It's awful being a white person. The third thing I hate about UKIP is Douglas Carswell. The fourth thing I hate about UKIP is... Now, this is possibly the most controversial part of the show. There'll probably be walkouts. In a preview of the show, it led to quite an intense argument with a woman in the audience who it turns out wrote for Gardener's World. But I think, and I will fight anyone who thinks otherwise, I think purple and yellow don't go together. Right? It doesn't go together. It looks disgusting and gauche and awful. I don't give a fuck about your crocuses. I don't like purple and yellow. It's horrible. Okay? And the one thing that I did like about the Nazis was this. I think they're good branding. Right? Good branding. Right? Red, white, black, cool boots, well choreographed marching, right? Look good, right? I just think if we're going to have a return to fascism, I want it to look cool, you know? I don't want purple and yellow fascism. Ugh. Purple and yellow fascism is what happens when you don't have enough gay people in your party. Yeah? The fifth thing I hate about UKIP is that they're a non-racist party. What is that, a non-racist party? That's what I call it. First page of the website, we are a non-racist party. They're not an anti-racist party. Let's not go overboard. They're non-racist. They take a neutral line on racism. I don't know why they kind of even mention it. It's honestly the first thing on the website, we're a non-racist party. It just makes them sound more racist if they just had to mention it at all. What's that, a non-racist party? It's like advertising a non-paedophile babysitting service. I don't know why he felt the need to mention it at all. The sixth thing I hate about UKIP is that they're an anti-satire party. They're the only political party who actively speak out and campaign against satirists, comedians, cartoonists, making fun of them. Right? No other political party does that. I did a show 2 years ago called Night of the Living Tories where I made fun of the Tory party, right? And Tories would come to see the show because there was no way of stopping them. And and they come up to me after the show And they go, oh, I enjoyed the show, a bit embarrassing, I'm actually a Tory, but I really like the show. We'd have a bit of banter between us, you know, they'd be like, oh, you're a fucking wet liberal idealist, and I'd be like, oh, you're fucking evil. The things you believe literally fucking kill people, like thousands of people die because of stuff you vote for, so you can have an extra fucking house. How do you sleep at night? So we'd have a bit of banter between us. It was fun, it was good fun, you know, we all got on. But UKIP aren't like that. You can't have banter with UKIP. If you take one thing from this show, it is that. Johnny and the Baptists are a really good comedy double act, right? They did a tour called the Stop UKIP Tour, where they made fun of UKIP, right? They received death threats for doing that, right? No other political party do you receive death threats for making fun of. Maybe increasingly factions of the Labour Party, but that is a different show altogether. I spoke to Johnny from Joining the Baptist. Said, what was that like? You never think in England that you're going to get death threats for making fun of politicians. Do you think that's something that happens in other countries, not here? And Johnny said to me, he said, in a weird way, it made me really respect the Conservative Party, right? So whatever you think of the Tories, you can not agree with them, you can think their views are really harmful, you can disagree with their policies, but they always acknowledge that part of democracy is that their ideas are open to scrutiny and criticism. Part of that scrutiny is satirists and comedians making fun of the things that they believe. So that's the seventh thing that I hate about UKIP, is that they've made me respect the Conservative Party. Ever be in that position, I feel horribly dirty. The eighth thing I hate about UKIP is Douglas Carswell. The ninth thing is that my housemate Jim votes for them. Right? Now, you don't know Jim, but if you knew him, you'd understand. It's one of the stupidest people I've ever met, right? And UKIP, they actively kind of court the votes of people who are unintelligent. They're kind of proudly anti-intellectual, and I find that really concerning and worrying. I think that, you know, people have different qualities, but I think if you're intelligent, that's a good quality, and something which people should be proud of. I mean, an example of what Jim is like, right? He's nice, but 2 years ago, during the Charlie Hebdo attacks in Paris, right? We were watching on the news, me and my other housemate, right? He's come into the lounge. He could see something important has happened, right? And he asked me what had happened, and I said to him, oh, it's awful. In Paris, there's some cartoonists, some satirists. They've actually been murdered just because they drew a picture of Muhammad, right? And Jim went, what, the boxer? Amazing. Amazing. Do you know what the worst part of that story is? He didn't actually say that. He actually said, what, the wrestler? And we had to work backwards to work out. It's a really controversial series of WWF. And the is this light in people's eyes? I'm just aware it is. Okay, right. You can all still see me. Is that all right? Is that better? I just want the illusion of show business. I mean, look where we are. It's fine. It's fun. It's dingy. It's cool. It's like we're planning the revolution. But that'll happen afterwards. Stick around. Good. So the 10th thing that I hate about UKIP is that they are the most right-wing party in mainstream politics today, right? And right-wing people are awful and evil and hateful and violent, right? In contrast with left-wing people like us, who are nice and kind and good, right? That's just a fact. We don't like to talk about that much, because left-wing people, we're very modest, but we are good. We're just better than everyone else if you're left-wing, aren't you? It's just a fact. All the good things in the world were invented by the political left. The NHS, we all love the NHS. You might have been treating the NHS by a doctor or nurse. You think I was a doctor or nurse who helped me. It was left-wing people that did the NHS. That's us. You're welcome. It's great. All the good things in the world are invented by the left. I'm a left-wing comedian, therefore I'm a better comedian. That sounds like kind of empty thing to say, but it's actually true because I think about the jokes I do. So I make sure I don't do jokes that are... I always say I don't do jokes that are offensive, but that's a weird thing, offence. People talk about offence as though it's all kind of equal, but it's not. Different offence has different history to it. People always think they've caught me out. They go, oh, Joe, you don't do racist jokes, but you do jokes about the Tories, so really, you've got your own prejudices. You're just the same as the racists, right? Those two things aren't comparable at all. You know? There's never been a point in history where Tory MPs were routinely kept as slaves, but... you know, one day. Like I said, we'll plan afterwards. But, you know, so I'm happy to offend someone because they're political beliefs. I think that's obviously different to someone's race or gender or sexuality or whatever, right? There's someone, a UKIP supporter, came to see the show in a preview, right? the moral is always research what you're going to go and see. And she didn't like the show for some reason, and she shouted at me, and it's the weirdest thing. She went, "I didn't come here to have you make fun of the things that I believe," right? And I said, "You did." Objectively, that's what's happened. You know, you might not have intended to, but it's ended up that way. And she went, "Well, I didn't know it was going to be like this. I'm leaving. I'm going to leave," right? Because they love leaving things, don't they? And I said, "Well, go." I said, "Go, fuck off. You're not welcome here. This is a nice liberal comedy club. Don't come here." Right? And then, and she did that thing. You know when people want to show how angry they are, and make a show of how they're storming out because they're really offended by something. She slammed her bag on the table and then really obviously put her stuff in her bag, one thing at a time. And then she put her bag on her shoulder like this. And then she put on her motorcycle crash helmet and stormed out the gig. I all know who outraged she was. So, I'm happy to make fun of someone's political beliefs, but I wouldn't make a joke where the victim of the joke was someone who was already culturally a victim, right? So a lot of comedians do jokes about rape. I wouldn't do jokes about rape. But I would do jokes about necrophilia, right? I think that's okay. Because if you do a joke about necrophilia, it's very unlikely that anyone in the audience has been directly affected by that. Do necrophilia jokes, it's fine. You're not going to have zombies running out crying. That's not going to happen. So, I'm a good person because I'm left-wing. Left-wing people, we're good. We're the good guys. I mean, there's one small thing I've done that's bad, and that is that I once helped kill a child. But apart from that, I'm fine. Okay, I should explain this. What I mean by that is that I bought an iPhone, right? And ethically, that is the same thing. That's the same as helping to kill a child. I watched a documentary about iPhones. They're made in China by essentially kind of slave children. And the working conditions are so bad that some of the children kill themselves, right? And I watched that documentary, and I thought, oh, that's sad, isn't it? And I tweeted about how sad it was on my fucking iPhone. No self-awareness at all. And then 2 months later, I bought a new iPhone. Okay? I know it's not good. That's really bad. I've helped kill a child. Well, it's not killing a child is the worst thing you can do. But it's not like I've killed a child. It's not like they kill one child per iPhone. They need their souls to work or something like that. I find that really funny, but it's never got a laugh, so don't feel weird about it. But I say it every day, and it makes me laugh, and I enjoy it. And with all due respect, I know more about comedy than you. So, it's a funny idea, they need their souls to work. That's what Siri is, or something like that. So anyway. I know. So, and the worst part is I don't even feel bad for having an iPhone. And I know I should feel bad. I know it's bad that I have an iPhone, but I don't feel bad, right? And the only reason I don't feel bad is because the children who are kept as slaves, they're far away. Right? It feels like that makes it okay somehow. They're out of sight, out of mind. Do you have child slaves? Yeah, but they're miles away. It's fine. It's not like I enslave local children, lock them up in my basement and just force them to build me iPhones. That would be sick. Right? I enslave children far away. Which makes no sense, because if anything, enslaving local children is more ethical than enslaving children far away. Because there's a lower carbon footprint. It's better for the environment to locally source your child slaves. But apart from that, I am a good person because I'm left-wing. And left-wing people, we understand stuff like that. So we understand about the exploitation of people in other countries. And if you understand that what you're doing is bad and you do it anyway, then because you understand that what you're doing is bad, kind of makes it okay. I do understand when things are bad, and I'm accountable for them. So I think about the jokes, right? I said there were no offensive jokes in the show. There's actually 3 jokes which are offensive and which I can't defend politically, right? The first one was the one about the purple and yellow and not enough gay people in your party, right? It kind of relies on a homophobic stereotype that, I don't know, the gay people understand about colours or something like that. It doesn't even make sense. The second offensive joke was the paedophile babysitting service. Obvious reasons. And the third offensive joke is one that I haven't done yet. Got that to look forward to, haven't you? But I'm telling you about those jokes, so I'm kind of owning they're offensive, and I'm accountable for them. I'm not just washing my hands of them. I don't want to be like the writers of The Big Bang Theory, right? I should explain that some more. There's a sitcom called The Big Bang Theory, right? It's an American sitcom. If you haven't seen it, I'll explain it to you. It's awful, right? It's awful. It's like the worst sitcom ever made. It's terrible. But despite that, I have seen every episode about 7 or 8 times. Don't know how that happens. And there's a character in The Big Bang Theory called Sheldon, right? And here are Sheldon's characteristics. Number one, he's really dependent on routine. And if his routine is broken, then he becomes very, very distressed. Second quality he has is a few areas of focused specialist areas of interest, and he only really cares about those things. He finds it difficult to be interested in things outside of those areas of interest. The third quality he has is he finds social interaction very difficult. Sometimes he'll be talking to his friends are getting bored of what he's saying, but he doesn't pick up on those social cues. The fourth characteristic he has is he has a very literal understanding of language. Things like sarcasm and irony, he finds it difficult to pick up on those, and he takes things very literally, right? I would say that Sheldon is the autistic character, right? Those 4 main characteristics, they're characteristics that people with autism often have, right? You could even argue, and I'm not necessarily saying this, but you could argue that Sheldon is like an offensive stereotype of someone with autism. That's an argument that could be made, right? And I saw that argument made to the writers of the show. They said, what do you think of Sheldon? Do you think he's a good representation of people with autism? And they said, oh, no, he's not autistic. We never say he's autistic, so he's not. So we don't have to answer that. Right? But he clearly is. He really clearly is. Obviously, look at his characteristics. You know the character. Just because there's not an episode called Sheldon Gets a Diagnosis, right? Still, he is autistic. You have to be accountable for that. Be like if I wrote a sitcom, and in the sitcom there was a character who constantly wore a black and white stripy jumper and had onions round his neck and a little moustache and a beret, and he walked around going, "Ooh la la, j'aime le croissant avec mon petit bazinga," and he was like really creepy with women, right? That would be offensive. That'd be really offensive if I wrote that character, right? I'd have to be accountable for that. I couldn't just go, oh no, it's not offensive. No. Pierre's not French. No. It's his own character. If he was French, I'd have to be accountable in some way. So, we're left-wing, we're good people because we can be accountable and we understand when things are bad. Also, the other reason left-wing people are good is because we try our best to be better. We might not be completely perfect, but we try to be better, right? So, one of the things I've done to try and be better recently is I've stopped watching pornography, right? Which always creates a weird atmosphere in the room, right? No one's ever pleased for me, right? Other things, you give up smoking, people are happy for you. They want to shake your hand. If you give up watching pornography, people don't want to shake your hand. If anything, it makes them regret the times they shook your hand in the past. But, no, it's not good, is it? I don't mean to be too serious, but I think there's a whole generation of young men who, maybe younger than me, I'm slightly pre-internet generation, but men in their early 20s now have had unprecedented access to very hardcore and often misogynist pornography. And I do worry that that's having a very damaging impact on those young men's relationships with bitches. And I think that's a good thing. That's the third joke, by the way. I have no justification for that at all. I think that's a horrible, horrible joke, and I hate it. And I did it once about 3 months ago, and it got a big laugh, mainly from the men in the room. And I thought, I'll keep doing that. I keep saying, and I've done it every day this Fringe. I keep saying bitches, and I hate the word bitches. It's horrible. Only women get called bitches, right? You can call anyone a cunt, but bitch is just for women. It feels like horribly misogynist, eh? And I have a little inner monologue, and I go, should I say bitches again today? And I go, yeah, say bitches, because there might be a reviewer in. I keep saying bitches. And everyone laughs, bitches. And I feel horrible for it. Maybe I'm not a good person. But then I reassure myself that I'm left-wing. So it's okay, isn't it? I can say what I want. I read The Guardian. Fuck you all. It's fine. I read that Owen Jones book. I read 2 whole chapters of it. Right? So I can say what I want. It's fine. All right, fine. Maybe it's not quite as black and white as left-wing people are great, right-wing people are awful, right? There is some nuance in it, and I do try. I'm trying this year to be more nuanced. That's my thing. In the EU referendum, I tried to be more nuanced, right? Try to look at both sides of the argument, right? So I was talking to an elderly relative of mine, right? She was voting to leave the EU. I was voting to stay in the EU, right? she asked me, she said, why are you voting to remain? And I said, well, 3 main reasons. First reason is economic reasons, right? So if we're going to have a kind of capitalist system, we might as well have one that's kind of functioning. All the leading economists say that we'd be better off in the EU. So I don't understand economics. They understand it as much as anyone can. So I trust those people that have that expertise. Second reason is immigration. I think immigrants are broadly used as a kind of scapegoat for problems that are caused by the kind of capitalist ruling class. And I think the free movement of people really benefits us all. I think it's a good thing. It benefits us culturally and economically in all sorts of different ways. Third reason is not even really to do with the EU. I worry that a vote to leave the EU would be seen as a kind of mandate for kind of nationalist, isolationist politics. And we know from history how dangerous it can be when nationalism and isolationism can pop up all around Europe. So for those 3 main reasons, I'm voting to stay in the EU. And I asked her, I was being nuanced, trying to look at both sides of the argument. I said to her, why are you voting to leave the EU? And she said, well, when I was younger, I used to be able to go down the market. And in the market, they sold these lovely little pears. Right? Little English pears. And they were ripe but not too ripe. And they were sweet but not too sweet. Right? And they were firm but not too firm. They were the perfect English pears, and they were lovely. Right? Can't get them anymore! So I'm trying to look at both sides of the argument and weigh up which one is more valid. But you know what, here's the thing, right? That relative who said that, clearly she is an imbecile. But she is lovely. She is lovely and kind, and she does lots of voluntary work for charities. She works for homeless charities, really kind of unglamorous voluntary work, you know. And she goes out and does it just because she knows it's the right thing to do. And what do? I go out on stage, or whatever this is, and and I repeat the things she said to other broadly left-wing people, so we can all judge her and sneer at her and think about how stupid she is while she is out helping homeless people, the most vulnerable in our society. We all laugh at her. Ha, stupid. In some ways, I think she has the moral high ground on me. Because somehow, the one flaw with the left, right, is that we can be a bit sneery sometimes. We can sneer at people a little bit, right? We're not as bad as atheists. We're not quite up there. But I fucking hate atheists. I'm converting to Islam just to annoy Richard Dawkins. I'm happy to do that. I hate Richard Dawkins so much, right? If you don't hate Richard Dawkins, you should follow him on Twitter. You will hate him within a day. He's an awful person. Last year on Twitter, Richard Dawkins put this. He wrote, I believe there is clearly a difference between violent rape. Right? How are you going to finish this sentence, Richard? And a clear difference between violent rape and more moderate date rape, right? That's fucking horrible. It's a horrible thing for like an intelligent, educated man to put on a public platform. And being Twitter, the first thing underneath, someone had written, I hope you get fucking murdered, which I don't condone that. That is wrong, you know? Particularly because she didn't specify whether it should be a violent murder or one of those more moderate date murders. See, we can be a little bit sneery, the left. And right-wing people can be nice. And that makes no sense. I don't understand how nice people come to those conclusions, but they do. I met a Tory MP, right? I'd never met a Tory MP before. My relationship with the Conservative Party had been very similar to the relationship that men who play video games have with women. Yeah? I'd never actually met one in real life, but I had spent quite a lot of time on my own threatening them on the internet. And I met one, her name was Flick Drummond, right? She's a Tory MP for Portsmouth South, right? And she was lovely. She was really lovely and kind and interested in other people, and I really warmed to her. I thought she was really, really nice. She was like a nice, kind teacher. And she's also a really good MP, really good local MP. She does lots of really good work in her local community, whilst also being part of a party that's destroying that local community. But you know what? She was nice. She was really nice, and I really liked her. One weird thing about her, I'll share this with you. She was doing like a comedy and debate show, and she was really shocked that the comedy show went on as late as 10 p.m. Right? She was really shocked by that. She said to me, really, 10 p.m. on a weeknight? She went, does comedy normally go on that late? I said, So yes, I don't mean to shock you, Flick, but sometimes I'll be out doing comedy. I don't get until 10:30. It's like the last days of Rome out there. So I just mentioned that because I think it's a kind of insight into the kind of people who are running this country. It's people who think that 9:15 should be a kind of curfew for laughing. That's who's in charge. But she was nice. I really liked her. I thought she was really lovely. And I do have lots of friends who are Tory voters who I really like. I don't actually have any left-wing friends. I don't. I had one left-wing friend, and I can pinpoint the point at which I realised I didn't want to be friends with her anymore. It was 3 a.m. in his flat, and we've been drinking Jaeger bombs, right? Which is not an in-your-flat drink. Yeah, it's not an at-home drink, but that's happening. It's 3 a.m. He's hammered, and he's telling me how Thomas the Tank Engine is right-wing propaganda. And I'm thinking, I can't be friends with you anymore. We can't hang out. And he was right, though. It's 100% correct. No, it is. Think about it, right? The Fat Controller, he's like the bourgeoisie, the ruling class. The troublesome trucks, they're like the unionised workers, and they're portrayed really negatively. They're like, oh, we don't want to work today. We don't want to go to work. The work's too hard. We want a day off. Health and safety, right? And then Thomas comes along and goes, don't worry, Fat Controller. I'll work twice as hard just for you. And the voiceover goes, Thomas was a helpful little tank engine. No, he's not. Thomas is a fucking scab. That's what Thomas says. Fuck you, Thomas the Tank Engine. I hope you get fucking privatised. So left-wing people can be difficult to be around, and I don't think we are good people. I think particularly white male left-wing people, I think we're kind of awful people, right? That's true. That's why so many of our stories about witnessing racism end with the line, and then he got off the train before I could say anything. Does that really happen? It's what racists are like, aren't they? They're like fucking ninjas. They do some racism, and just as they're about to be confronted by a vegan with a tutu in media studies, they dart off into the night. That's not what happened. You saw the racism, you said nothing, you're a fucking coward. Okay? And I'm a coward too. I'm the worst of the political left. I'm a coward. I saw some homophobia 3 months ago and I did nothing. I just let the homophobia happen. I said nothing at all. Right? In my defence, the homophobia was directed towards me. I don't know whether that make a difference. I'll tell you the full story. So basically, I do comedy and I live in Portsmouth where there is no comedy. And I don't drive, so I have to get the train to do gigs and stuff, right? Of a week, I maybe spend 10 hours on a train, right? It's really long, it's really boring. I bought one of those Nintendo DS's, right? See them? It's like a Game Boy, essentially. You can play video games and stuff on the train. When I bought it second hand, right? I could either pay £110 and I could have a pink Nintendo, or I could pay £120 and I could have a black or a white Nintendo. The only difference was the colour, right? So I bought the pink Nintendo because I'm not fucking 10 years old. I don't give a shit what colour my Game Boy is. I regret that decision. I regret that decision so much. Every time I have to get public transport late at night, I'd have paid £200 for a big, manly, black Nintendo with a picture of a cock on it, and then no one would think I was gay. But it's happened now. I've got the pink Nintendo. It's good. It makes the journeys past fast. I was on the train, minding my own business with my pink Nintendo, playing Fairy Tale Crossing, and it's actually really good. You've got to get the fairies from one side of the enchanted forest through to the other side of the enchanted forest, and you build up pixie dust on the way, and you can spend the pixie dust on gems in the game, little gems. You build little gems and diamonds. I've got 200 gems in the game. So I was playing that, and then some football fans got on. Right. Now, I'm not prejudiced against football fans. I'm not. I promise you I'm not. I feel the same way about football fans that UKIP feel about gay people, right? It's not prejudiced at all. It's not. Yeah. I have friends who are football fans, so, yeah. But, But those friends, they're not like the really flamboyant, over-the-top ones. Do you know what I mean? They like football, but they do it in the privacy of their own home. They try to shove it in their face. Oh, I'm a football fan. I like football. Oh, I don't need to know. It's disgusting. Yeah, just keep it to yourself. I want to marry another football fan. It's my right. No, it's not. It's disgusting. Just right. But I'm not prejudiced. I'm not prejudiced against football fans. But you know what I mean. You wouldn't want your daughter bringing one home. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm saying. That's not prejudice. That's just practical. Practically, I want to have grandchildren who can read. And no, that's not fair. There's nice football fans. There's also nice people who can't read. That's fine, right? But these particular football fans were horrible. And they got on the train and they saw the pink Nintendo and it made them angry, right? And the ringleader said to me, "Why have you got a pink Nintendo? Are you some kind of gay?" Right? And that confused me, right? Because usually what they say is, "Are you gay?" Right? And you've got two choices. You can say, "Yes, I am gay," and then they're violent towards you. Right? Or you can say no, and then they let you go on your way. Right? But in this case, he said, "Are you some kind of gay?" Right? I think that shows how far we've come in this country. Right? Even our homophobic bigots acknowledge that there are many different kinds of gay. Sexuality is a spectrum, guys. Come on, there's many colours in the rainbow. And that happened, right? And I thought, oh, that's good, I can put that in the show. And I'll make up an ending. I'll make up an ending where I said something really witty, and I confronted the homophobia, and the homophobic guy looked really stupid, and all his friends laughed at him, and all the train clapped me, and they went, "Well done, yeah, you're a hero, you confronted the homophobia, yeah," right? But that's not what happened. So what actually happened was he said that, and then I just didn't say anything, and I put my Nintendo away in my bag. And it didn't shut down properly. I lost some pixie dust, and I put it away. And then there's still and then I went, "Oh, I've got to go to the toilet." And they went, "Oh, you're gonna bum someone in the toilet? You're gonna bum a man in the toilet?" And I went, "Oh, yeah." And then I just went to a different carriage, and then they didn't. They kind of left me alone. That relative of mine who said the thing about the pears, right? She would have confronted that. If she'd have seen that on a train, if it happened to her or if it happened to anyone else, she would have confronted that. She would have seen it was wrong, it was bullying. She would have stood up to it. And I didn't. I was meant to stand up to that, but I didn't. I failed, where she would have definitely done the right thing. I'm worse than her. I'm worse than a woman who believes that the EU have banned pears. That's the kind of person I am. I'm an awful person. I always thought I was a good person. I just assumed I was a good person because I was left-wing. In my early 20s, I went on some protests and I read about Karl Marx and I thought, right, I'm a good person now. Brilliant. I don't have to do anything else. I'm one of the good guys. Pass me my Guardian newspaper. Right? But you've got to do more than that. You've got to be a socialist when it's difficult as well. And I always fail at that. I always fail at being a socialist when it's hard and when you've got to stand up for what's being right. I'm not a good person at all. I'm just a fucking poser. That's all I am. And I know that this year. I've realised it so much because I'm getting married next year. Right. Now, in a normal comedy club, when I say I'm getting married, people cheer, right, and clap. But you don't do it, and I understand why you don't do it, because you spent 40 minutes with me and you just feel really sorry for my wife. But it's fine. She's as much of a kind of nightmare as I am. So we work. And weddings are weird, right? Because weddings don't matter, right? They don't matter at all, right? It's what you make of that relationship that matters. You could have a really nice wedding and then people get divorced, or you could have a kind of really cheap roll, kind of rubbish wedding, and then you work on your relationship and you make it really, really good, right? So the wedding doesn't matter. But also, weddings are incredibly politically charged, right? So a few things, so my wife's not taking my name, right? Which I'm happy about. It's for whatever you want to do, that's fine. Unless you're a teacher. I don't like it when teachers change their names. I didn't like it at school when the teachers would go away over summer. Bye, Mrs. Wrightson. Bye, Mrs. Wrightson. We got you in September, Mrs. Wrightson. Yeah, you're the best teacher. Bye, Mrs. Wrightson. And then in September, in comes Mrs. Wrightson. But she's calling herself Mrs. Greenaway. She's reinvented herself. She's Puff Daddy or something like that. I didn't like that. It confused me. But, it's fine. My wife's not taking my name. I'm quite happy with that. My dad's been really weird about it. I didn't think he would. But he said to me, "It's not sexist, Joe. It's tradition." And I said, "Why is it tradition?" And he said, "It's not sexist. It's tradition because it's symbolic." And I said, "Okay, what's it symbolic of?" And he said, "It's symbolic of an older time When there was more sexism. Right, fair enough then. And like, cause there'd be men in this room who were married to women who didn't take their names, and like we're like grown-ups, so we're not insecure. But people's opinions come out of the woodwork. People always say to me, they go, "Aren't you worried, Joe? Aren't you worried that when you have children, that your children won't have the same name as you?" And I say no, because I aspire to be the kind of father who can identify his children by more than their surname alone. Right? And failing that, I'm just going to memorise my wife's name. Right? I'm not going to be turning up at the playgroup, have the playgroup leader say to me, "Hello there, which one's yours?" And I go, "Shit! It's one of them. I was meant to write it down." That'll be fine. So weddings are like so fucked up when you start thinking about them. I went to a church wedding earlier this year. The vicar said this. I've never seen this before. The vicar goes, "Who brings this woman to be married to this man?" That is insane. Who brings this woman to be married to this man? There's a woman loose in the church. Who owns the woman? It's just running around loose.
Will the owner of an F-Reg woman please make themselves known to a member of staff? It is currently blocking the aisle, and we're worried that it might shit in the font.
It's not really because it's because the woman's being given away. That was what it was. That's the tradition at the wedding. Father of the bride gives away the bride to the new man, right? And this is an issue in our wedding where, like, we don't want to do that with our dads. I particularly don't want to do it. I find it kind of creepy and weird. And also, between us, I've already had her. It's already happened loads of times. We are well into double digits now. It's going very well. So, you know. But her dad, right? So her father, my father-in-law, who we both love and care about. It's really important to him that he does the giving away thing, so he gets to be part of the wedding or something. And he didn't understand the "I've already had her" argument. He didn't know. He didn't know what I was talking about. It confused him, if anything. And it would make him really upset if he didn't do the giving away thing, right? And never for me, never for us, has there been a clearer disparity between the politically correct thing to do and the morally correct thing to do. The politically correct thing for us to do is for us to say, "You know what? No, we're not having sexism at our wedding. It's our wedding. You can't give her away. You can't own a woman. That's old and weird. We're not having that. You're not allowed to give her away. And we can make an old man really sad, right?" Or we could do the morally correct thing, and we could go, "You know what? Like, we know how a relationship works. We know we're equal in our relationship. So we could just let your dad do the giving away thing, and you know, it's a bit silly or maybe a bit cringy when he comes in, but you know what? Like, it'll make him really happy, and you know, that's what we want, really, to make someone we love and care about really happy." So we could do that, and we and obviously that's the right thing to do, isn't it? You know, that's the right thing to just let them to do that. And I find that hard to cope with. I know it's the right thing to do, but it's hard to cope with. I have to be right wing. That's the right wing thing to do, and it's the right thing to do. I have to be a little bit right wing on my wedding day. So I don't know. I can't cope with that at all. But it obviously is the right thing to do. It'll make him really happy. Happier than I've ever been in years and years of being left-wing. Because it's horrible being left-wing, isn't it? It's horrible. We're all miserable. All left-wing people are miserable. You might think you're happy. You're not. Right? You're miserable. It's awful being left-wing. Only left-wing people would cram into a space this small. Just on the outside possibility there might be some laughter in there. That's what left-wing people do. There's no right-wing people in there. They're out there enjoying themselves, being happy. Right-wing people are happy. Look at Nigel Farage. He's always happy. Right? It could be the alcoholism, but I think it's more than that. I think it's because the right-wing politics make you happy, right? Because if you're right-wing, certainly if you're very right-wing, you believe that all the world's problems are caused by immigrants, right? You can go out and you can kick an immigrant and you can feel good about yourself. You can feel, yeah, I'm good. I've done good for the world. I'm good, right? But if you're left-wing, you believe that all of the world's problems are caused by very complex political structures that exist both at an international and national and even at a local level. And if you're a person who's kind of white or Western or a man or kind of privileged in some way, you're in some way kind of complicit in those structures of oppression, right? So it's very hard to go out and kick those things. So you can maybe focus on one issue, single issue campaigns, right? What about that war? We won't have that war. of 1 million people go out and we march against the war, and then they still do the war. And then you go home and you watch the war on TV, and you go, why did I bother marching against that? It was pointless marching, it was pointless trying or caring. My life is pointless, I wish I was dead. Right? It's what it's like being left-wing, isn't it? It's horrible. Right? I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be left-wing anymore. It's horrible. The only comfort that I ever had was that we were the good guys, right? But we're not. I realised that we're not. We're just posers. We're useless. The only thing we have is that we're correct. That's all we have. And we're unhappy, and we're not even good people. And I don't want to be left-wing anymore. I want to be happy. I want to be more right-wing. I do. So I can be happy. It's like John Stuart Mill said. John Stuart Mill said, it is better to be a man dissatisfied than a contented pig. Right? Which is evidently untrue. Yeah? It's much better to be the contented pig. Fucking think about it. Right? The pig is contented. He's happy. Right? Dissatisfied man. That's what I am now, and it's fucking awful. Right? Contented pig. I'll have that one, please. Sat in the mud, eating all the swill he wants, looking at some sexy lady pigs. Brilliant. I'll have that, please. Sign me up to that. Don't want to be a left-wing pig. Don't want to be worrying about the working conditions in the swill factories. Or thinking, oh no, I think I'm objectifying that sow. Right? I just want to enjoy being a pig, being happy. I want to be like a happy but stupid pig. And that is why I'm going to join UKIP. Because UKIP are a lot like pigs, and not just because they're unpopular with Muslims, but also... That's the weirdest reaction that joke's ever got. I think you've just been conditioned to think that Muslim is a swear word. It's not, it's fine. That's a totally fine politically joke. It's good. Good, thank you. There's a woman, she's the arbiter of what is allowed in this room, and she said, yes, that's allowed. But thank you. It's good. So, are you a Muslim? Is that what? Okay, well, yeah, there you go. So you represent all Muslims, and you can make decisions on what is allowed, and you have given it the pass. Thank you. I can now say whatever I want about Muslims. But it's not just because of that. It's because I think right-wing politics make you kind of happy. You know, like a pig. Pigs don't engage with facts or evidence or researching things. They just do things that make them feel happy, right? And I want to be happy. So I've got 10 things I love about UKIP, right? The first thing I love about UKIP is that they want an Australian-style immigration system. I think that's a brilliant idea. Nigel Farage tells us that the reason we have racism in this country, the only reason we have racism is because of our flawed immigration system, right? And that is why we should have an Australian-style immigration system. Because, as you know, you will never meet a racist Australian, right? They don't exist. They're very liberal people. The second thing I love about UKIP is that they want to ban the burqa. I want to ban the burqa too. I think, as a man, it's my right to see a woman's face. Right? I think if a woman leaves the house, I should be able to have a proper good look at her face. Right? I'm even against women turning away from me. I think that should be illegal as well. I think all women should be legally required to have their head shaved and then have a tattoo of their own face on the back of their head. So at any time I can know what their face looks like. And if you don't agree with that, then you're a terrorist sympathiser. The third thing I love about UKIP is Douglas Carswell. And that was as far as I got. I didn't really know how to end the show. You can't just end it going that we should all vote for UKIP. You're meant to have hope at the end of the show. Show up here, Chris Coltrane, I saw him yesterday. He's really hopeful at the end. You go away feeling inspired and you feel like there's hope in the world. But he's wrong, there is no hope. So everything's bad, everything's fucked, everything's awful. Things are getting worse, the right are winning, David Bowie is dead. Everything's fucking horrible. And the one glimmer of hope we had, the one bit of hope we had was the left, the political left. We were meant to come along and save the day. We were going to be the heroes, but we're not. We're useless, we're posers, we're keyboard warriors. What did you do when fascism rose in Europe? I went on Twitter and I called Owen Smith a cunt. Why'd you do that? Well, he is a cunt, isn't he? We've got to do more than those things. We've got to be better on the left. I saw it 2 days after Brexit. I saw some post-Brexit violence. I saw this Muslim guy being beaten up. The people that had done it, they'd run off before I could say anything. And I sat with him for a while, and it was horrible. It was really horrible. You realise then that politics is not just an abstract thing that you talk about. It's a real thing that affects people's real lives. And it was all bleeding, it was crying, and it's distressing seeing a grown man crying. And no, it shouldn't be more distressing than seeing a woman cry, but it is. It's a horrible thing, this grown man cry. And I asked him if he wanted to call the police, and he said that he didn't. He was worried about the kind of repercussions if he called the police. And I sat with him for about 5 minutes, and then I asked him where he lived, and he told me where he lived, and I said that I lived near there so I could walk him home safely. I didn't live near there, I said it so that I could make sure he got home safely. And I walked with him for about 5-10 minutes, and I felt like I was going to cry. I felt like ashamed. I felt ashamed of what our country had become and of how little we'd done to stop it becoming like this. And then after about 5-10 minutes, we weren't quite at his house yet. We walked past a shop, and we went into the shop, and in the shop, they sold these lovely little pears. Little English pears. And they were ripe, but not too ripe. And they were sweet, but not too sweet. And they were firm, but not too firm. And I bought us both a pear, and we ate the pears, and we looked into each other's eyes, and we knew that everything would probably be fine. There you go. That's the hope. That's all the hope you can have, is that I've heard that in the future we're going to have slightly nicer pears.